We have AF, Angela, Lori Lyman, Pat, RS, Sarah, Selectboard, and Sue. Hi.
Because today.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you, I appreciate Dawn, I appreciate it was, I got this notification. I'm like, oh, perfect.
Yes, we haven't started yet. We'll start in a second. Everybody at home is anxiously, hold on, now I gotta make sure that I got everybody at home. So let's see, just so you know, if you wanna call Dora, I'll tell you what I think we have at home.
Call this listening session to order. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for being here on Zoom.
Yeah, so we have, I don't know what, if you're gonna do any introductions, we're just kind of going to listening, but we have AF, Angela, iPhone Robert, Friedlander, Lori Lyman, Pat, RS, Sarah, Selectboard, Cam, Sue, and Angela Fisher online, and somebody just joined, Bruce just joined, Bruce B, I don't know who that might be.
That's trouble.
And I don't know if everybody in the room wants to say their name or not, but if they don't, you can move right into it.
Okay, do you guys want to introduce yourselves? Do you mind? Can we start?
Sure. Nancy Sayer is present and.
WG Sarah.
And I think, hold on, in case, also, I know she has introduced herself, but, I want to introduce our director and Whitney Schofield. So. And one of our tenants, and Billy, who's been with us forever.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And one of our students.
There she is. And behind Whitney is Deborah.
Yes, hi, Deborah Rado, Children's Librarian, Whitley Memorial.
And would you introduce yourself? Introduce yourself.
Julie Bella?
Okay, and then Danielle Marjoni and Lucy. And. Yes.
I'd like to point out that
Lucy, see, she's already like an active public citizen. She's really on it. She's so cute. So tonight we're here just to have a bit of a listening session on this amazing facility that Nancy did rebuild. They took something that nobody else saw and had a vision and made it into a wonderful learning facility to provide early childhood education for Castine's families and the families around us. And we're here tonight to talk about what do we all think this should look like going forward, or what do we think it could look like going forward? What are the issues that we face that we need to be aware of? And I will say that after this session, on Monday, the select board will be talking about creating a committee that has some like maybe Whitney, yes, Whitney, some people from the community, maybe Deborah, maybe some other people from the school, parents from the school, hopefully somebody from Maine Maritime. You know, we want to bring together a big group of stakeholders to work on these questions and create a plan for us as a community going forward. Okay, how we fund it, all of those kinds of things. So if you are on Zoom, if you have a question or a comment, please put it in the chat. And Derek, who is now doing amazing things.
I'm amazing.
Derek is messing with the select board. So he will read out your question. And I'm gonna start the very first thing that I'm gonna start with an email that we got from Bob Scott this morning.
I'm sorry.
Bob Scott. And Bob reminded us that really the most important necessity for the Brown School is good housing for the teachers, is workforce housing for the teachers. So that's a huge issue that Dan is working on and that, you know, we're all working on. So I'm just gonna start with Bob, and if anybody has anything, please let me know. You can step up to the mic if you want, or you can just yell. Anybody? Anything you want to see going forward? What do you think?
Huge issue for us.
With
Getting, teachers who have committed to our workplace, but have had difficulty finding housing. It's been an issue. I have worked with Paintura, I have worked with local, rentals, Sue Maycomer, and a variety of people. But housing is an issue. Housing is an issue across the state. I don't expect Castine to suddenly have a 600 place, but help getting a list of those homeowners who'd be willing to rent to staff members would be huge, absolutely huge. Right now, most of my staff is coming from away and they're traveling 30+ miles. I had to close this afternoon early so that I can let my staff members go home because of the weather and the roads. If I could have staff members in town, that wouldn't be a problem.
So how many places do you think you would need for staff?
2 or 3. We move forward 2 or 3.
What was the question again?
How many?
How many apartments or housing units would you need for staff?
Well, right now, Hannah was fortunate enough that she got a place. And she got it early on, as I said, she's been with us the longest. But we have 1, 2, 3, 3 staff persons who have to travel, as Whitney said, at least 30 miles. To get here, and only one headed to Belfast, the other here, and then another to Brazil. And that's typical of what we've had to deal with. But I mean, we're not, you know, that's come. I mean, we aren't the only suffering souls here. But as I would say, at least 2 to 3.
I'm so grateful I was able to, everything fell into place, but it didn't, I was able to find what I did, but I was so intrigued by the school and so excited to be working at school at the time. I was hoping to move from Bangor, to work down here. So yeah, that is just kind of showing that how wonderful the place is. I was close to driving from Bangor to be here. But I'm so grateful to work there to find help.
That's great.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons that we started this conversation, you guys, you can hear me. One of the reasons that we started this conversation was because the state, last year, they passed some legislation and they wanted to start 4-year-old preschool in the public schools. And then this year, it looks like, Danielle, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's going to be 3-year-old special ed is going to be the newer offering from the state. And I've heard from some legislators that it looks like the state is moving toward having as much early childhood education as possible under the state, to sort of help young families come and not have to spend, you know, half of their income on education for their young children. I've heard that, but then of course this year we're facing a deficit, so things change. Doesn't mean it will continue in some form. So, one of the things that we were kind of wondering is, if that comes to pass, or one of the things that's great about having the round school is that if that came to pass, Castine is one of the few communities in the state that has a facility where we can figure out how to do that, right? Many other towns have been really concerned that they're going to have to build a whole new school. So,
Are we talking about, children as young as 3 with special needs?
so the special needs program, Danielle, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I did one webinar on this, so I'm not the expert, but from my understanding, the law that it's passed, the Department of Ed is required to provide special education services to any student who qualifies from grade 1. And so in an ideal setting, in kind of a smaller town like this, where we don't have necessarily the means to open up a 3-year-old class like that, we have the option. Childcare center, and so the student that qualifies for special services was enrolled at CCLP. We partnered to get the services they need to come in once or twice a week to serve students in your space so that they can be students there and still receive the services without travel.
So we're talking about teachers coming in for specific students at specific times, coming into our facility to manage their needs.
And the most common, for my experience as a teacher at that age, the most common service. Right, and so we like half an hour. Of course, there are students that have more intense needs and might need more than that. But you guys also.
We're talking about skid services, speech,
Yeah. Right, yeah, and imagine if a student needs, 40 hours a week at services, we might find it for not a student.
Well, given a professional coming in to service that particular child, whatever their needs are, then we would be perfectly appropriate.
Not only would we be perfectly willing to, under the rules and regulations for the Department of Health and Human Services, we are required to serve that population. So it isn't a case of, you know.
Okay.
And also I'll just add, at the round school, we believe in being developmentally appropriate, which means not only for the age of the child, but for the abilities, the developmental level of the child. So frankly, it doesn't matter. It does matter, but it doesn't matter how we approach the child, because we approach the child where the child is, not where it's dictated they should fall.
Julie.
Oh, I think a little bit following on that, the connectivity and community and that it's such an amazing space and that the kids are kind of, you know, we're being from the library, we're being from out of school, or, you know, how to integrate and create more opportunity to support the around school so that it can be equally as vibrant as these other places. And so we were talking to you about it. So we had that discussion about safety in the roads and, you know, say how you guys walk the kids up, and it's a great walk for the kids, and you can't take them up that loud because it's so crazy. But creating a designated walkway that links the buildings together as consideration. To be part of having to create more community. And then on another level, how, because the building was so incredible, it's not being used for kids, and we can offering adult that could be not just on the work the library does, but that, you know, there's how we use that space in a way that it's and kids.
I would say that we have done that, and the example is the ski club. Not this year, but we haven't had, well, this year, so last year we did, but the kids would come in afterwards. The parents would bring them in and they would all bring potluck. So every Saturday, there were kids there with their families having potluck, playing chess, playing games and doing things. So it's already been done, and you're absolutely right, we need to do more.
That's great.
Hey, Julie, can you use your outdoor voice when you speak? They heard you at home, so.
Pretend you're yelling at me.
He's the, oh,
Yeah, it's a.
she have to repeat it?
I don't know, Pat, did you hear what? Earlier, before? Shake your head, yes or no, Pat Bishop. Did you hear what Julie said a minute ago? I didn't see it getting picked up on the closed captioning, so.
It's very difficult to understand.
She didn't hear you.
All right,
Go ahead, Julie.
Oh, thank you, Julie. You have to understand, Julie also has been a pitch hitter for us when we had emergency, we volunteer teachers to come in.
Awesome.
She's the good one.
So for people on Zoom who didn't hear me, I was talking about how to.
Is that better? Okay.
Bring, you guys can hear me, thumbs up if you can.
Really close.
If she can't, I can see the closed caption coming in, so it's going through.
All right, I don't see anybody respond. Okay. How to create, more community between, which there's already great programs that exist between the school and the library. The school being the round school, but how to create more connectivity between the three. I'm tag teaming a little bit on the new legislation that Roberta brought up, which is going to inherently create some of that dynamic. But to the extent that you introduce a road along Battle Ave that or a pathway that allows people to walk safely,
from one to the other, would be an awesome thing. Again, create more community between the three. And then extending programs to adults either in off hours or weekends, so that because the building is so amazing, it has, you know, pottery facilities and great studio space, that we could potentially host something maybe that the library is doing that they don't have space for, that they could do over there. So thinking of it more holistically as part of the community rather than separate.
Thank you. Nancy, when we talked a little bit about, the library sort of after-school program and how if there was a way that that could be in collaboration with the round school, that, you know, we could, now, does DHHS, is that,
It doesn't let.
does DHHS, is that a problem with
We have
that?
to follow DHHS rules and regulations, but in that case, all right, if we want a secure, safe environment for our children, then you have to have some type of sign in and sign out system. You just can't have children walking into a space, and that is what CCLP offers. So yes, there would be things that the parents doing that, but it's a physical. Public school requires a physical. It's, I mean, there isn't anything that's, oh my gosh, this is foreign. And fill out a form. What's that done? We have some people that come in every summer from California, Georgia,
Virginia.
They come in and they know, they fill out paperwork. The kids are there for 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
6 weeks.
If this isn't foreign, then none of this is foreign to us. We're doing it.
Great. Okay, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have something that you'd like to see? Yeah,
The city, I've been going to the round school, just to do the.
I need you, sorry.
Actually, I can hear her right now.
He can hear you if you don't want to.
You can hear me.
I could hear you. Our the closed caption is picking you up, so.
I guess I've only seen the round school in the last 3 years. I'm not there from the inception. I don't know what it was like at one point. And so I don't know what the capacity is. What are the numbers of students? What are the ages that people expect? So how do you see this going? Like, I don't know who answers this or how this is going, but how do you see that going forward? The different ages and the number of the children that the place could potentially hold. That maybe it doesn't now, if they have the staffing for that.
Right, our capacity is 45, or 40 other spot.
49, we go like 49.
Our capacity is 40. Our ratios are spot on right now, but it's a matter of staff. You can take on more children if we have more staff. But staffing has been an issue, I'm sure it's been an issue across the board with everybody. Finding qualified applicants.
But if you're like in the babies, I call them, the babies are, so how many children do you normally have?
The ratio of baby numbers is 1 to 4.
So that you're one is.
8.
We had staff. We had the staff.
No, I know, that's what I'm saying.
You know, that you have to, if you don't have a staff, you can't take the kids.
No, I know.
That's the bottom line.
You can tell us, and we're not maximum per kids, but what is the max per classroom space?
It depends on the class.
No, but so if you had.
It's 49, it's 49, it's 40, we can enroll 49, our capacity is 49. And that's what we are licensed, 49 children.
Do you have the staff like 4 kids now, before they're and 10 kids everywhere else? I mean, that's basically.
No, it's what, it's 18 in the after school or
No.
max.
It's 13 in the after school. 13, we can have 1 to 13 in the after school. We can have 1 to 8 in the 4-year-old space. And we can have 1 to 4 in the baby rooms.
But if we have extra staff, if we have other staff, then we can add another.
And I can tell you if you are there during the summer, because we have extra children that come in, we hire extra staff and have been able, fortunately, to do that. And then we have had as many as like 10 or 11 in that.
Before 12 and the people are, yeah, in after school room, see, we have at least 13 last summer. And, the baby room is still full.
Right, but at one time, we did have either side.
Yeah.
It becomes really that program, so if you have 3 or 4 staff for the after program, how many students in that?
And that's a very good question, because that falls into what you're talking about with the library. Right now, in the after school, we are serving 5-year-olds to 10-year-olds. It's a huge spread. And frankly, I think we do a good job of it, but I thought. But anyway, the point being is, if we cooperated with the library, and because there's a duplication of services. If we had the children up at that, we could have an extra teacher and we could divide into groups for and do things that were more appropriate to the age of the child.
And you can have up to 13
So
kids
take
in the
13
after.
with one teacher.
With one teacher.
Now,
So if
I
you-
want 26 children in that room.
If you had a second teacher, you could have 26 after school.
Yeah, because of who I was.
Yeah, but okay.
6.
I think an important piece of this puzzle, because it's a puzzle that we're trying to put together. We were speaking with someone from MMA earlier today. If MMA participates in this committee, they have a problem there that when professors come to apply for jobs, sometimes they don't take the job because there's not childcare that's appropriate for them. So I think that really incorporating MMA into this discussion can help support the number of potential students. Because there's a lot of turnover there right now. A lot of people are retiring, they're bringing new people in. Younger people are going to have families.
Julie,
I'm just telling you that 50% of our families want that.
Okay, thank you.
Julie,
And that's not.
thank you.
I never had a piece of that.
Oh, never did,
So
you did get that, but
Because you worked you did all that great engineering, this is a bit of a spitball, but, you're talking about resource issues, everyone's talking about capacity. Is there an opportunity to partner with another daycare center that maybe has overflowing and resources that we can somehow leverage and work together with in order to address your scale? Right, can't take one, and I'm just saying, maybe there's a good fit somewhere with some other group that wants to expand and has the ability to do that, and we need.
I probably have to. You always talk. I mean, if it's an idea, you always explore it options. I never go in and say, no, it can't be done. What this area has, we are licensed as a child care center. That's entirely different than a child care home. What you have in this area is a lot of child care homes where you can take 5 or 6 children and you have them in the garage, or you have them in, somebody was just telling me about them. And, you just, so whether that's the reason, and then they want to take that away and become an employee, that's, but those are things that you, yeah, sure, you can talk about anything.
I was thinking more of the one in Bluefield, that's the Sunshine or that they are licensed and for whatever opportunity as a community, we can say, oh, let's just figure out, maybe there are some other resources we can leverage.
That particular center already has either 2 or 3 locations. They already. Yes. She's already franchised.
you guys are with your stuff, and you're doing such an amazing job of showing up in the morning and after school, and, and we've got somebody else, but, you need people, and, yeah, the town needs you to be available and, not over you, so how are you trying to think about it?
So what about funding? Like, because I know right now, paying the teachers what they're really worth. Okay, no teacher has ever in the history of the world been paid what they're worth. I'm just gonna say that, but paying the teachers what they're worth. What about funding? Are there ideas to address the funding issue?
There are always ideas about
Yeah.
addressing the money. I mean, what we are doing right now is keeping ratio. With the ratios that we have, we are able to make a budget. However, when our population expands, particularly in the summer, with short-term care, then we need to hire more teachers to keep ratio. And it fluctuates in the summer. What I want to do is to offer our teachers a larger salary. Because that's what they're worth.
Yeah.
That will also keep them with us for a longer period of time. And will also help us expand our numbers. Once we have a stable community, I can increase these numbers and keep ratio. But right now, with the way things are, I'm talking about today.
Yeah.
I can't afford to hire somebody.
May I?
So Nancy, I had to ask you this
Yeah.
early on, but to have the facility fully staffed, to be able to cover all the expenses, okay, the electricity, the heat, the water, everything. What would be the income that's needed to cover all the expenses of the school?
Well, again, I mean, I don't want to keep going back to the thing, but it would depend on how many students.
No, I understand, but I'm saying if you could hire enough people now, so you could attract more students, how much more staff is it? But I just want to get a sense of the overall budget.
I just would, I'll answer, may I just give a little. After COVID, the state of Maine recognized that they needed childcare desperately. And immediately the state kicked in subsidies to staff. So all the staff is now getting a subsidy from the state. That has slowly, since COVID, been decreasing in amount. There is, if you listen to Governor Mills's, DHS is going to get severely cut. Maybe severely is the wrong word, but they're going to get cut. And they'll basically, we're anticipating those subsidies are going to go away.
They're gonna drive.
So at this point, we are down to offering what staff can go earn. Hannah with a degree could go with equal to what she could earn at McDonald's. That's the reality.
No, I get it.
So at this point, who's going to come, and I could put it in very graphic form, but I'm not going to. But if you're going to work with children all day, and it is not easy work, believe me, it is very hard work, very hard. And to keep your patients and your perspective on life, and to pay them 18 when they can check in at McDonald's, work their shift and walk out the door, and that's the end. And so having to now answer your question, as you waited patiently for it. Suggested, if we hire a high school grad and they have no experience, newly in $18 an hour, which if you have a college degree and no experience, now here just, Hannah would earn $25 an hour, as she should. Whitney, this would bump her up, without divulging her salary, she would, as comparable to a president, she would, I mean, to a principal, she would earn she would earn 70,000. And which is far from what she's being paid.
So that's the overall budget, if you were to add, if you were gonna do all the, I mean, it's important for us to know if as going forward, what it costs to run this school well.
And WG will give you that.
And just round up the number right now, WG.
Any more?
Right now, these board members this year would be $24,000. Yes. 24. Got additional 30,000. Grants. And another 17,000 other donors. We did have the grants. The board members and the donors. That adds up to almost $90,000. So we need that. Income from childcare is right about 120 to 150,000. Salaries this year were very low because we got one staff member for almost the whole year. And Nancy and I created volunteer substitutes. So we covered one group and covered. If we're a full state, straight jump, it's cost of operation of $100,000 a year for salaries. We have a half that person in summer or.
So are we 250? Are we 3?
That would be nice. If all the grants dry up, donations are falling off because it's the income, the economy's like that. So
WG, you should use the microphone.
Sorry.
with the economy getting tighter, donations have fallen off constantly for the last 6 years. So that's going away. DHHS grants are going away, so I think approximation would be the town of 200,000. Keep it up. 200,000 a year to build it all.
So 200,000 plus the income that you get from
Yes.
from balance. So you're probably 350 plus or minus?
Yes.
Okay, that's where I want to go.
That's what decent salaries, because right now, a 12-month salary is less than a 9-month salary for a beginning teacher.
No, I get it.
Even though our salary is higher than the state average for the child workers.
No, I get it.
You have a question?
Okay, yep, we have somebody from the Zoom, so Peter? Peter Lewis, yeah, you want to say?
Yeah, can you hear me all right?
Yes.
So it's pretty hard to hear from Zoom, so I apologize if this has already been covered. I was also a couple minutes late to this. I just want to kind of put out a different perspective and you know, I've got a limited perspective, a limited amount of knowledge, but from my perspective as a new parent, someone who's recently gone through on daycare, my wife and I probably called a dozen different daycares within 40 or 50 miles. We were calling all the way to Bangor and Belfast and Ellsworth and everywhere else. And every single place we went to had wait lists. We just got a call. So my son's been in daycare now for 6 months. We just got a call from Belfast asking if we still wanted to be on the wait list. They weren't offering us a spot, but they just wanted to keep their wait list up to date. I don't know that it's just a matter of there's not enough staff. I think there's not enough kids. And I don't see any reason why there shouldn't be lines up, you know, waiting at the door to get into the place, because if there's a wait list everywhere else, that means other people must be searching for daycare. And there's no way we called every other place that was around here either. There's plenty of home daycares, as Nancy said. So I just, from my perspective, it's not just we need more staff. You need more kids. And I think we need to look into the root causes of why there aren't more people lined up at the door when there seems to be people lined up at every other daycare door within 50 miles of here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Jim, Uh-oh, we took your microphone.
That's all right. I can give it back or I'll take Dan.
Yeah, take,
I think I can hear you. So.
You guys are, in terms of the cost of the numbers, I think I'm hurting, I'm cover full staff with paying people the right way. I don't know if you've considered this before, but there might be a sliding scale based on people so that you price according to the population and you cover. And then of course, I mean, it's a question of if childcare is important for the town, you know, is it something that, you know, if it's part of the school board and they can contribute a certain amount, or the library can contribute a certain amount, or the town itself can contribute a certain amount to keep it funded. And, you know, to Peter's point, if there are these places that are so crowded, why aren't we? And is it cost? Is it that it isn't staff? And because people can't rely on it because the kids, you know, there are enough people to be here that help the families who need reliable daycare. You know, these are all things that have to be talked about and thought about. But I obviously think cost is a big one, and figuring out how you support it long term with the right pricing.
Oh, I'm sorry, Bobby, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm coming from a different planet, so forgive me if I'm,
Bobby, go to the microphone so everyone can hear you, please.
you know,
We don't want to miss a word, Bobby.
it seems to me that, we have the lease, the first lease on that special, very special town asset is gonna expire. And it is incumbent upon the town, you who are governing it, to look at, assess, determine what the needs are now. And so before one gets into numbers and program and budget, what are the needs? You mentioned the state's changing the rules. Therefore, Adams School has different needs. You've got the library, you've got MMA, there's changing demographic in town. And so I just hope that what comes out of this is not solving all the problems before we have fully assessed what the need is and how that needs changed.
That's great.
And more importantly, what it looks like going forward.
Thank you, Bobby. That's a really good point. It's a really good point. May we ask, what does it cost? And I assume it's different for babies than 3-year-olds, right? But what about does it cost for a child for a month?
The average students in all 2 to 3 years old is $250
A month,
A week.
a week, okay.
The people who are just 3 to 5 is $220. The after school program is $100 a week. When we have full week program that out schools on vacation is then $220 a week. And in the summer.
And how does that compare?
$225.
How does that compare to other centers in the area?
About the middle.
In the middle, okay.
I should add, the state assesses. You have to fill, they just assessed how much childcare throughout the state was. They then provide you with a range according to your county. So we are given, it isn't a case that I can just pull $400 out of the hat. I am told what my range is, and so we try to stick more or less in the middle of that range in respect for parents. I will say the state has a good state subsidy program, and we run about 1/3 of our children are getting state subsidy.
Does anybody from Zoom have anything else?
Not yet, but there's 17, we lost one of them on there. I don't know, we do have a couple of our other school board members on, I don't know if they want to say anything or not. But please feel free to unmute yourself, anybody on there, and I'll tell them which one I'm muted and say something. I'm not seeing anybody.
Okay,
Okay, I have a quick question.
Bobby, I really appreciate it. What-
Sue started to say something, but I can't hear her.
Hold on.
Sorry. I just have a quick question and I don't know how to wave my hand.
It's just going up and down, but it's not saying anything. Oh.
Let's see if you.
Bobby, I appreciate what you said about and doing needs, like what are our needs in the town? And so I think starting with sort of a needs, some sort of a needs assessment would be a really good.
And what are your expectations?
Right, right. But when I was talking about funding, I was curious if somebody was going to say, you know, because the whole point is that housing is already really expensive in Castine, right? So parents are already paying a lot for housing. And now to get great early childhood education, they're going to be paying the middle of Hancock County, but still a lot of money. So I was curious if anybody was going to say, you know, could the library put forth some funds in a partnership, or could the Adams School in a partnership, or, you know, does the town want to? Oh, good. Okay,
So Sue, unmute yourself, please, and let's see if we can hear you now.
Yeah, no, I just had a question about staffing. And can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. What is the turnover rate on the staffing? Because I know, I mean, I rented to one of the staff and had a really bad experience a couple years ago, and I know they only stuck around a couple months. Is there, what's your turnover rate? How long on average do people stay in Castine and teach at the Round School before they move on to something else?
Yeah.
thank you.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
About 1 year.
A year?
Peter?
Yeah.
He's still there.
Oh, I'm sorry. I actually had the same exact question as Sue. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
it feels like turnover is pretty high there. That's what I've learned as a parent. With a kid at daycare age, that to me is actually like the thing to look for in daycare is what the turnover is, and make sure that the staff's happy. It is a really hard job. I take the weekends. Sometimes I wish daycare was open because it's really hard to take care of a young kid. And so if people are still willing to stick around for several years at a time, I think that's a really positive sign that we need to look for as a town, as it relates to the health of the daycare that we have.
Thank you.
Rachel asks, does that include all new hires? I'm thinking that goes back to the question of what?
Turnover.
And we've had some new hires that haven't worked out. You have signed employment contracts and then just we have family emergencies. There's been a variety of things that have happened. I've hired several people who were not able to fulfill their contracts. I would say in general, our staffing rate is about a year.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? On Zoom?
Right now. 17 of them on there.
Okay.
This is their last chance to say something.
Does anybody here have anything else to say?
I think it would be good just to, there were some things that were thrown out in my reason for being here, not only is for the Round School, but is that the community learns to work together. A gentleman said, well, other school places have waiting lists. The areas that were given were Belfast and Ellsworth. There's a big difference in population between Ellsworth and Belfast. Just who's coming. What we're trying to do, and I think, I can't speak for everyone, but from what my motivation was to get people to come. We've already mentioned MMA. They have the reason for young families to come in. School is going to need young families to come in. We're reaching the end point of the big after COVID. somewhere we've got to come up with some way to get young families here. And if we think that we can get young families to come here and not have a childcare center,
We don't.
it can't happen. It just will not.
Nancy, it's a critical
Yes.
piece of the community.
And I can tell you, our architects that gave everyone's talking beautiful building, they designed it pro bono. His first, he said, this is critical to the infrastructure of Castine and everything. And that's why they did it.
It has.
Yeah, I mean, and that's, so, yes. There is a huge turnover in childcare, not only in the children, they're there for, well, they were there for 2 to 3 years. Then they're going to public school that's paid for by tax dollars. So you only have a brief period of time, but you have to have, if we need a qualified staff to do that, it's critical for that. And funding of some type to encourage it. I will say, do check out, it came out February 11th, right after the governor, I'm sure they were working on it before, but right after the governor's budget speech. And it was, Maine's, they put out their call for action, and it's called their 5-year roadmap for child safety and family well-being. And it's a blueprint for every community to work together, a library to work with the preschool to work with the public school. We work together, so we're not at each other. We're doing what we need for the children and the families. It's simple.
Thank you.
So before you call Peter, right?
Peter has come on.
Yeah, but hold on, Peter. Debbie just said, I agree with Bobby, but this is a multifaceted issue. If the cost of housing is prohibitive, there will not be young families coming to Castine, which means low numbers at the school. And Peter, you're next.
Oh, sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yep, I just, it sounds like the meeting's coming to a close. I think there are plenty of families in the neighborhood. I just listed Belfast and Ellsworth to give you a sense as to how desperate we were to find places, but we looked in Bucksport and Blue Hill and Penobscot and plenty of other places, and there are families that are driving 20, 30 miles at a time to go to their daycare, and it's normal, it's part of life here, is you gotta drive far to get places. So I think there is plenty of demand in the local area. The only other last comment I want to make is just how kind of recognizing that, especially for people in my generation, we don't have our parents close by. We tend to parent alone, and it is really difficult to raise a kid in this area. And I can't tell you how important it is if we want young people to be able to live here and thrive here. And by young, I mean I'm going to be 40 soon, so it's take it with a grain of salt, but however you want to view that. We've got to solve this, and we've got to have a daycare that's viable in town. So I just want to put that out there. Thank you.
Peter, that's why we're here.
Thank you, Peter. Derek.
KCB says there needs to be a market assessment for childcare looking at population and competition in the area.
Would you repeat that?
Then KCB said there needs to be a market assessment for the childcare looking at population and competition in the area.
I have heard that forever. As soon as you do that assessment, it will not be valid. Remember, you have children that are growing. So by the time you finish it, unless you can finish it in 10 days, that doesn't have any validity.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I'll give them a going once, going twice, going 3 times. I don't see anybody else.
I will move with
Oh,
Pat Bishop?
oh, Pat, oh.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So this seems to be like a pretty complicated, involved problem. And I'm wondering if you should have a separate committee made up. And I would like to see Bobby really involved. And a couple other people from the community to get some answers and maybe a written report from Nancy and WG with some real numbers. I think a lot of this is just kind of conversation, and I think that you need data to work through this problem. It's definitely needed in the town, there's no question. But is it a good business? Is it something that's gonna continue, and the impact with the library? You know, I just think it's a big deal. And it needs to be worked through carefully.
Thank you, thank you, Pat.
Got a couple more, Sue said, don't forget that the dorm renovation will be taking place in the next few years, which will make housing even more difficult. Good point, accurate. Oh, yeah, I'm not supposed to take sides or say that, and I forget I just did that editorializing on that, but it was a good point. And then Z Sawyer said an accurate assessment will take shifts in population into account. And that, I think, is everybody online. Oh, wait, let's see. Yeah, okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. I move we adjourn.
I have one question.
Oh,
I'm just curious.
No, it's okay, but
Who exactly would be approached in terms of MMA as a collaborative partner? Because that, I think, is really important in that I see, and I don't know this, but I see that there's a shift in their faculty and they're hiring a lot of new families. And I can tell you, a third of our kids are MMA children. And that would be a tremendous collaboration. If we could make a meeting of the minds with new families coming in.
We meet with MMA every month, and at our next town and gown meeting, we will bring it up.
I think it's important for their faculty and staff. I think it's important for our school.
It's important for the entire community.
It's important for the entire community, and I'd like to work more closely with the library as well.
that's great.
I mean, we provide a very secure, very safe, very creative, imaginative, expansive opportunity for these children. And for them to be able to experience that in a space that is as beautiful as ours is a huge gift. And I just think that if we can all come together and do what's best for the kids.
No,
Whitney, the reason we're here tonight is because we want to come together. We want to make this successful. We believe the school, and I will just speak personally, that when Nancy and WG gave me and Julie a tour a couple of years ago, whenever it was, I was flabbergasted by what an extraordinary facility it is. I mean, it is the nicest childcare facility I have ever seen in my life. Okay. So, I feel a real commitment as a select board member to do our very best in helping the school transition and be successful and flourish.
Thank you, I really appreciate that.
And
And I'd like to see, more collaboration with the Adams School, which we are starting to get, which is lovely. And I'd just like to see there be more communication between all of these entities. To support these kids.
that's what the select board, that's one of the goals of the select board, is to really bring people together and let's hear what everybody has to say and let's work together and let's be cooperative. And Rin has something to say now. So Rin?
Yeah, I think so. Hold on.
Oh, there we are. It's not Ren, it's her husband, Jake.
Sorry. Jake?
All right, we're under hers. Hey, I just don't hear a whole lot of people questioning the quality of the building. And I would agree it's a beautiful building. I hear more of the questions and concerns around the quality of the program. Questioning turnover, and issues there, I think are concerns that we've made clear ourselves as well. And so I appreciate everyone's defense of the building and the beauty of the building. I would agree with that completely. It's more the questions around the quality of the program itself.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jay.
I did catch also, Rachel, Sawyer said, proper board overseeing the school would be key to progress as well. And something else just came in. Z Sawyer said, I would agree with Jake, so.
Good.
Other than that.
We really,
Hands in the air. Now, you guys
Yep.
gonna talk about this.
we're
That's
going,
what your board agenda.
right,
item meant,
we're gonna
right?
talk, we're going to talk about at the next board meeting, we're going to talk about creating this committee. We'll figure out how to bring in some MMA people, hopefully somebody from the library, somebody from the Adams School. Somebody from the select board will sort of be, listening. We don't get to give a lot of opinions, but we'll get to be listening. And some parents, we definitely need young parents to talk to us about what they need. So we just appreciate you being here tonight. We appreciate everybody on Zoom being here tonight. And we're gonna get started on making a plan to go forward.
Before we close out, could I just mention, we're talking about bringing the community in. On April 5th, we're partnering with, Community Child, our late person is partnering with Healthy Peninsula.
Okay.
Our early childhood conference, which will be in Castine at the Community Learning and Childhood Learning.
Oh, nice.
Thank you.
So this
Thank
is.
you.
We'll put it on
60 to 100.
we will put it on the town calendar.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.